Hi, my name's Gavin. My website's hickorygolf.co.uk. In this video I'm going to show you 3 golf clubs that actually carry the same mark. They're all stamped McEwen across the top of the heads here. They're what's called long nose style, but only one of them is genuine and dates to about 1850. If we first have a look at the sole. Now there is a bit of a giveaway on here that in fact one of them has a clear stamping on the sole. And it's here. But let's just say for sake of argument that wasn't stamped there. How would we know which one is the real one? Okay, so look at this one here. The horn is very, very clean. And it's sort of got the same colour all the way along. Whereas this one in the middle has got quite a lot of discoloration. And it's got some bits missing, some little chips on the end. This one is sort of somewhere between the two. Which one's the real one? It's the one in the middle. But I'm going to show you some other things about this club that back that up. And a lot of what I'm going to say here is when you consider all that you can see, then it tells you whether something is real or not. Now I'm going to show you the faces of the 3 clubs and point out some differences. So this one on the bottom, you can see that it has horizontal lines scored into it. This one in the middle seems to have file marks going diagonally in this direction. And this one doesn't seem to have any marks at all across the face. So, which one's the real one? Well, it's actually the one in the middle. A lot of replica clubs are marked with these sort of horizontal lines, and a lot of replica clubs don't have any markings at all, so very, very smooth. So actually it's something in between. Now I'm showing you the lead weights that are put into the back of each of the heads, and I'm going to talk through each one in turn. So this one at the bottom, it's actually quite rough, it's not smooth surface, yet the overall shape is pretty good. This one in the middle is smooth, but the overall shape is a bit strange, particularly up here at the heel. There's a bit sticking out. And this one here, it's very, very of a regular shape all the way round. It tapers nicely here and it tapers nicely here, but it's a lighter colour than the other 2. So which one is the real one? Well, it's actually this one at the bottom. When you have a club that's getting on for 170 years old, you would expect it to actually have quite a lot of wear marks all over it. And the lead weight in the back of the heads often picks up dents and dings. So that's really what you're looking for. You don't want anything that's too smooth. And the lead metal oxidizes over the decades and goes darker. So the darker the colour, the better. Let's look at the neck whipping on each of these clubs. This one at the top has quite a lot of the black tar that's been smoothed on missing, and it's actually got a lot of the linen showing through. This one in the middle is very, very dark and consistent and very smooth. This one at the bottom is not completely dark all over. It does have some patches of the tar missing, and you can actually feel some ridges as you run your hand up and down. So which one is the real one? It's this one at the bottom. Next, let's look at the shafts by themselves. Look at the shaft at the bottom. It's very, very thin. Is that a good sign or a bad sign? The one in the middle and the one at the top, the actual diameter of the shafts is much of the same. So which is the real one? Actually, it's the one at the bottom. On a lot of long nose woods, surprisingly, the shafts are very, very thin. They gave a lot of whippiness to the shaft when it was swung. Next, let's look at the shafts in the middle of the club. The one at the top is much darker than the other 2. Is it a good sign or not? Actually, it is a good sign, but the real telltale with this shaft is that up close you can see lots of little scratches. This club has been carried in the crook of the caddy's arm, and they pick up micro scratches. It's almost like tiny little crazy paving along the shaft. It's very, very hard to fake. Next, let's look at the grips. These two at the bottom have a very uniform colour, where this one has gaps between the edges of the grip as it's been wound on. Which one's the real one? The top one. Often what we see in old grips is holes, just like this one here. They can be woodworm, but actually it's more commonly moth holes. They're actually a good sign that it's very, very old. Next, if we look at the end of the shafts on these clubs, we can see clear differences. The one in the middle has a hole where it's been held on a lathe. This one here and this one, they actually look quite the same. But what we can see on this one, and it's quite difficult for the camera to pick it up, is that the growth rings in the wood are slightly further apart. Club makers like to use wood that was slow growing because it would provide extra stiffness. So it's this one on this end that's the real one. Next, let's just have a quick look at the top of the clubs. They each have the mark McEwen. So it's very difficult to tell which is the real mark. But if we look at the heads overall, on two of them we can see that there's actually quite a lot of wear marks. There's dings, there's scratches. So obviously that's what we want to see with a club that's 170 years old. So this one here we can discount as being a replica. So how do we tell between this one and this one which is the real one? Well, this one, close up, if we look at the varnish, it looks a bit more see-through than the varnish on this one. This is polyurethane varnish. This is old shellac. So this is the genuine club. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the scare neck joins here. So if we look at these two clubs on the bottom, we can see that the shafts blend in very well with the heads. In terms of the shape, the shaft has been fixed onto the head and then it's been sanded over so it almost blends seamlessly. Whereas we can see on the top one that it doesn't blend quite as nicely. Which one's the real one? Well, it's actually the top one. That might be surprising, but what we're trying to look for here is 170 years worth of wear. And it's not uncommon that a head might have been reshafted in its time. So possibly when the club was first made, the end of the shaft might have blended perfectly in with the profile of the head. But then it's been reshafted at some time perhaps, and it actually has slight irregularities. That's actually a good sign in this case. It shows that the club has had some wear. I hope you found this video interesting. If you have, please press the like button or subscribe to my channel. And if you've got any questions, you can drop me an email at info@timewarpgolf.com or come visit me on my website, hickorygolf.co.uk.